Good afternoon, everybody. Friday afternoon, 12:30, here in Sydney, Jamison Street, in the podcast room of the People2People Sydney office. We're still locked down here in Sydney, hence the mask in the office here today. But, you know, it is what it is. We're going to get through it, and it's certainly not going to stop us with our broadcast today. We've got a lot to talk about. We have our regular numbers section, where we'll be talking specifically about the job ads, because particularly with the lockdown, it'll be interesting to see whether that's affecting job ads at the moment. And also a little bit of information on unemployment from the US, which I thought was very, very, very interesting. Then we'll be crossing to talk to Olivia from our Sydney legal team, and she's got an opportunity to speak to us about. And interestingly, in Canberra, which this week. Then we'll be having a quick chat to Cath Kennedy of our New South Wales. She's the New South Wales director, about her most recent blog and whether money is the real reason that you should be switching jobs right now. And then finally, we'll be catching up with last week's Twitter poll, which was, is football coming home? And once again, Aidan Boaster said, no, Mark, I need to be on P2P Live on Friday to talk about whether football is coming home. And we've got the results of the Twitter poll, which is quite surprising. So we'll do that at the end. So let's get into it then. And of course, if we've got any comments, I can see them directly on the screen here in front of me. So we'll get to them immediately. So please, on either Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, whichever channel that you're on at the moment, pop your comments up, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. But let's start now with our regular numbers section. So the numbers this week, I'm Callum Pickering, somebody that I normally go to from Indeed. I would highly encourage everybody to check out his Twitter feed. It's got some very interesting numbers there. And so the first one I've got here is job postings on Indeed. So you can see the percentage change in job postings from the 1st of February 2020, seasonally adjusted, up until the 2nd of July, so just over 7 days ago. And you can see that the baseline is February last year. And it's a huge change, 53.1% up on February last year in terms of the number of job postings on Indeed. That is a remarkable change. I also thought I'd put Victoria in there as well, because Victoria really did suffer through the lockdowns in 2020, and you can certainly see the second half, or the major lockdown, from about August last year in Victoria, and it has rebounded, except only in the last month or so, which is very interesting. It'll be also interesting to see what happens with New South Wales with the lockdown that's happening now. So now it's been extended into a third week, probably longer than that. Let's have a quick look at the state-by-state analysis. So if you wanted to pop that up for me, Jacob. So here it is here. And you can see the change, percentage change in job postings since February, seasonally adjusted, from in mid-June and July. So you can see New South Wales is tracking pretty much the same at the moment, which is good news. The Victoria is improving. Similarly in Queensland, after the recent scares. The South Australia has dropped off a little bit. I think it's a very interesting market, and we'll try and get Peter Seaman from our Adelaide team to get online next week just to talk about what's going on in South Australia. WA, look at those numbers though. I mean, you can't say, well, you know, it's only a slight improvement week on week, but it's up over 50% year on year in WA, Queensland, and New South Wales. Not so much in Tasmania, and you've got the ACT there quite consistent as well. Let's quickly then go to the another stat that Callum put up from Indeed, which is the ads, the job ads for every underemployed person and every unemployed person in Australia. And this is over a much broader time period. So you can see the first graph is from 2000 to 2008. And then you can see the second numbers for up till 2020, that little gap in the middle there. But just the number, though, is now 1.8 from memory at the moment. down from 3.1 pre-pandemic. So for every job ad, there is 1.9 unemployed people. I thought that was quite an interesting number. If you then have a look at the underemployed, the peak was obviously during the middle of the pandemic, but we were talking numbers closer to 15 back in the early 2000s, and now it's running at about 3.1. It's a good market at the moment. What about the US? A quick look at the US unemployment numbers over a much longer time scale as well. The reason I thought I'd show this to everybody is about the remarkable improvement in the job market in such a short period of time. So you can see that the grey is the recessions in the US. So you can see the recession for the GFC, where unemployment took up and was in double figures, around 10%. And then the length of time it took for that to reach 3 or 4%. So years before it got there. And if you have a look in the most recent pandemic, straight up to about 15%, but the improvement, or back to a more normal level of unemployment in the US, so it's sitting at around 6% now, I think. That improvement over a matter of months, not years. And you can see that from the 91 recession through to 2000, how long it took for unemployment to return to pre-levels. And it's an amazing element, or I suppose you could say factor about this recovery, is it improving very, very quickly. Rightio, that's it for the numbers section. Let's now, now this, what we're about to show you, it is a little bit corny, I think is the right word, but it's the bunch of our UK recruiters throughout Australia who are working on multiple vacancies around the country, but they thought they'd put a little bit of football's coming home spin on it. Do you want to just roll the tape there for us, Jacob?
On positions with all the pommies who are rooting for England to win the Euros 2020. We're going to start by just talking through a couple of positions we have, and we'll have a few score predictions for Monday morning. Chris, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Aidan. So one of the roles I have is a payroll specialist based in Alexandria. Ideally, someone who's used ADP and could start as soon as possible with the ability to work from home.
Sounds like an interesting role. And Chris, what do you think the score will be on Monday?
1-0 England.
Great. And Mark?
Hi, so I'm looking at a 6-month assignment for a product manager, $67 an hour, based in Mascot, must have appliances or product knowledge, and I think the score will be 5-2 to England.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Mark. Olivia?
I'm currently working on a float legal secretary role. It's working for a national law firm based in the city. And my predictions for the score on Monday is going to be 3-1 to England.
Ooh, could be a good prediction there. James?
Yeah, I'm looking for a part-time bookkeeper for an international consulting firm. So this would be a fully working from home job, 75 to 80k. Plus soup. In terms of predictions, I think it's going to be a tight one, Aidan. Maybe 1-1, and in England to triumph in a penalty shootout.
Oh, it'll be a nerve-wracking one if that does happen.
Yep.
Jade?
Hi, Aidan. Yeah, so I'm looking for an outbound sales consultant for a financial services organisation. The company is national and listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. Salary looking at, or OT, is around 100 to 120 with a base of around about 60. And my prediction is going to be 2-1 to England.
Fantastic. And lastly, my role, I have a quality administration role in St. Leonard's with a medical devices company paying up to $35 an hour. So if any of these positions are suitable to you and you're interested, please get in contact with us. We'll put some links on below with some contact names. And I think England are going to win 1-0, just like they have all the Euros apart from a couple of games. So thank you for watching, everybody. And what do you think, guys? Is it coming home?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
Coming home.
It's coming home.
Come on, England.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it was a bit corny, but you know, what was Mark Green's prediction there? 7 something. Let's have a quick chat to Olivia from our legal team who starred in that video. G'day, Olivia. How are you?
Hi, Mark. I'm feeling quite embarrassed after after that. So
I thought it was fabulous. It was really good. But I mean, yeah, I think Mark Green. I don't know. He's what did he say? Was it 5-2?
I think he said 5-2, which is very optimistic. But I hope so also.
Did you see I can see one of the comments, love it, very optimistic. Then Remy, he's actually our marketing manager in New Zealand. Yeah, France is a better team for saying, yeah, whatever, Remy, whatever. I don't know about that. Okay, all right, let's talk about the job that you've got, because it's based in Canberra. That's interesting.
It is actually. So I'm actually working on 2 vacancies for this firm. So they're a national law firm. They've got one role that's based in the CBD, and this role is a float legal secretary position. So they pay anything up to about 80 package for this position. It's a good role for someone that likes to be busy and support in different areas, because you'll be exposed to all the practice groups within that law firm. So ideally, they would like someone with a litigation background. That would probably be their preference, but really open to candidates that are studying as well, which is great. So anybody that's available for the next kind of 2 years on a full-time period, they would also consider. The role that they have based down in Canberra is a bit different, actually. It's a static legal support role. So it'd be supporting in their government practice group. It's supporting a partner in the team. Again, they're open to studiers, which is great to hear from a law firm. Not all of them are. And that role, again, would probably pay around that 80 package mark, depending on experience, really.
How's the remote working situation with either of those? Is it something that the firm will consider at all, given that it's in Canberra?
They do, actually. They really promote flexibility throughout the firm, especially with work from home. The role that's in the CBD, it's probably going to be in the office a bit more, as you will be covering for people that are on leave or that are sick, and you're kind of providing that support for busy times. So that role definitely will offer work from home. However, due to the nature of the position, you will probably be in the office more than kind of other secretaries, I suppose. In Canberra, yes, that role's offering work from home as well. So yeah, it's definitely a firm that promote that whole work-life balance, working from home, and are happy to offer that.
Yeah. Is there any other benefits we should be aware of besides the salary? Maybe just remind us again of the salary as well.
Yeah, so both of them are paying around 80 package. So probably a little bit of flexibility depending on experience. Benefit-wise for them, that of course they do lots of kind of company drinks. Well, when we're not in lockdown, but when we're outside of that, they also do kind of team events such as like yoga or like sports and stuff. And there's also the option to buy additional annual leave as well with that firm. Right. So yeah, it's a great company to join.
All right, I can see now that we've got the links to the role in the comments there. So if somebody wants to get more information, they can obviously go to the link. But if they want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, please do just give me a call. I'm always happy to speak about any roles that I'm working on over the phone. You can just reach me on my telephone number, which I'm sure Jacob can share just there for everybody to get in touch.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I don't quite... James B in one of the comments says 1966. They think it's all over, and it was 4-2 England versus Germany. Not sure about that. What that actually means, James. So yeah, I think that was the last time there was any silverware, though. Wasn't it?
I can't comment on that one, unfortunately.
Excellent. All right, thanks, Olivia. Great to see you again. And of course, get in touch if you're interested in any of those roles. Let's now cross to the Blue Mountains. I understand Cath is in. Cath Kennedy, the Director of New South Wales, has written a blog. Cath, how are you today?
Hello. Yes, hello from the Blue Mountains. I have to say I'm very happy to live in the Blue Mountains, being in lockdown, having access to so many beautiful walks and things literally at my doorstep. But I'm well. In true working from home form, I do need to have a prior warning that my little dog, who has been quiet all morning and has now decided to go up bananas, and my children may present at some point. So we might have a BBC moment, but I'll do my best.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way. But yes, I have written a blog.
Tell us about it.
Sure. So it's published on the website. We'll make sure it's obviously shared for people to look at in a bit more detail. But it really is just around the key drivers for candidates when they're considering or when they're thinking about taking a new opportunity. So as you and I well know, it's been a very candidate short market. The first 6 months of this year, it's been very hard to secure good quality candidates, and I know all of our clients have had that same experience. But what's been interesting in that context is that we haven't seen big, huge jumps in wages. So absolutely, there's been certain pockets and certain industries that are paying pretty lucrative salaries to secure people. But generally across the board, I mean, wage growth has been at sort of 1 to 1.5%. And I think the predictions from the government modelling is only to 2.5% by 2024. So still very, very modest and incremental growth there. So organisations need to have other reasons to get people to choose them, and I think candidates are understanding that, yes, of course, salary is a very important part of why we go to work, but there's some other drivers that for some actually trump that salary. So a couple of key things that I would point to that just comes up time and time again when speaking to candidates, and one of them is around values and purpose alignment. So I think that the last 18 months or so, it's probably made people consider those things even more deeply than they would have previously. And candidates want to work with an organisation, or people want to work in an organisation where they feel that there's an alignment to their own personal values, and that they can feel a connection to the purpose of the organisation. So for employers need to be able to articulate that in the market, and then you'll get people who are values aligned to your organisation. So that's something that's really, really important to candidates. Another one that is almost related, but really is around the opportunity for meaningful work. So I think the idea that work and life are mutually exclusive. I mean, I'm literally sitting at my kitchen table right now. So obviously work and life are interconnected, and people want to have work that they're doing that actually makes a difference beyond the bottom line, that's actually meaningful in some way other than just delivering a profit result. So that's important. As is security. That's very, very important, and particularly topical as we're sort of in some slightly more uncertain times at the moment. So a lot of people either were personally impacted or know somebody who was personally impacted over the last couple of last sort of 12 or 18 months. So as an employer, you need to be able to give a prospective employee confidence that there will be that there's stability and long-term security for them when they're joining your organisation. And then the other thing that I would point to is around some kind of opportunities for development. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a linear career progression. That's important for some people, but candidates want to know, well, what's the learning opportunity? What additional skills am I going to gain if I join this organisation? So it's not just what's my next job going to be, but if I'm in this role, what other opportunities will I have? And then the final thing, which I think really can't be underestimated, there she is, right on cue.
Oh, there's the puppy. Yeah.
There's the dog, yeah. is a sense of belonging and culture. So, we're tribal people, and I know, Mark, I think you and I are aligned in this way, that we don't particularly like working alone and working at home. So being able to create that sense of belonging and sense of culture and sort of collective purpose is really important as well. So the blog's got a stack more detail, lots of stats around wage growth, etc. people can refer to, but they'd be my key sort of takeaways or key suggestions to employers.
Fabulous. What's your puppy's name?
Her name is Coco. She was named by my children. she's a little tiny black fluff ball that is not fierce in any way, but she likes to think that she can take on the big dogs, and she's
and she can make a lot of noise, really, can't she? That's the thing.
That's all she's got. That's all she's got. She's about this big. So all she can, I don't even know what she's barking at, to be honest. She's just kind of looking out the window, just barking.
Well, she's not happy that it's not just all about money when you're changing jobs, I think.
That's her view on it.
I know I've been banging on for years that with supply and demand that we would be getting higher wage growth in Australia, and it just hasn't materialised at all. And I noticed Alan Calder on the ABC last night suggested that it was around immigration, and that with the lack of immigration that we might see some wage price growth. But the forecasts from the RBA just say no. And so that means that it's a more complicated market out there than just I'll take money. So, okay. Rightio. Thanks, Cath. Thanks for joining us here from the cold Blue Mountains.
It's grey and cold up today.
Great to see you again. So let's move on then, and quickly we'll have a look at last week's poll. So, is euro 2020 football, or is it coming home? I mean, we've been talking about it all the time. Check this out. 64.5% of respondents said, no way, not happening. 500 votes. So if you're watching and you want to jump on and vote, you've still got 50 minutes to do that. But apparently 2/3 of the population believe that, no, Italy's got it. It's all under control. James, thanks for your comment here. I think they think it's all over is a quote from Kenneth Wolstenholme's BBC TV commentary in the closing moments of the 1966 FIFA World Cup, when England beat West Germany 4-2 after extra time to win the FIFA World Cup in the final few seconds of the match. Wolstenholme said, there you go. Now I get it. I get it now. Thanks, Chris. We already know you're on the video. That's fabulous. Rightio. Let's cross now. Aidan demanded to be online this afternoon, and I want to have a quick chat to him about the result of that Twitter poll. Aidan, how can it be? Like, what is it? What's going on? 2/3 of the population believe you're wrong.
Listen, I think there's a bit of a fix on that poll. I'm sure of it.
All 500 people who voted, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. They got to believe, and they don't. I don't know what's going on there.
So it's belief. It's not about skills. Is that what you're saying?
It's a bit of both. I mean, with England, we're just so unpredictable, and I tell you, I demanded to come on this again because I can tell you the amount of times England have been in a final in my life, and that's absolutely zero. So,
well, I did. Yeah. I did see some. There was a picture I've got, Jacob. I think you've got it, which is in Leicester Square when they won last weekend. Have you got that? Did I send that to you? There we go. Check that out.
There you go.
There's no COVID distancing.
I was going to say, let's not talk about social distancing in that one. But
man, I used to live around the corner from there, but they actually arrested 20 people, and you won the bloody thing. What happens if you lose? That's going to be
absolute chaos. I was going to comment on. I was going to say a comment on James's comment as well. I was going to say it's a very famous quote in England where Kenneth Wolstenholme said they think it's all over, and then one of the players scored, and he says it is now. So I'll be hoping we can do that again on Monday morning.
Yeah, well, 2/3 of the Twitterverse say no, it's not true. Doesn't matter. All right. Well, thanks for joining us again. Let's have a look at next week's poll. So what we're going to for next week is we're going to get on this idea of whether money is important when you're changing jobs. So related to Cath's blog, and the link to Cath's blog is in the comments there. What's more important when you're changing jobs? Is it flexibility, generous remuneration, or company culture? Let's see what the Twitterverse says about that next week. Thank you again for joining us. There's just one last picture I wanted to show everybody because we're constantly talking about European sport, but I wanted to, and I suppose it is European sport in a way, but Ben O'Connor, a Subiaco boy, won one of the stages in the Tour de France this week. I just wanted to say a shout out to him, and that was a magic victory for him and for Australia in the Tour de France. So that's it, everybody. We're right on time. Thanks for joining us again. We'll see you all again next week for an employment market update here at P2P Live at 12:30. See you then.